when the fires were happening, it was just like really hard for me to like believe that it was like real, until like I saw with my own eyes, of course. All my life of living in Sonoma County, I've never had any kind of experience with this at all, like not even close, I don't think.
We've lived in Santa Rosa for 8 years. Me and my husband have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old now. Everyone we were talking to is like, the fire is not going to jump the freeway. There's no way. By the time we came home and had been there for a few minutes, it felt like just a few minutes. I got a phone call from somebody from our church, and they said, "Are you still home? You have to leave. I'm further out than you, and we've already left."
I literally probably grabbed like 2 shirts and like a pair of leggings, just like quick clothes, because I was like, okay, well, tomorrow I'm gonna come back and it's gonna be fine. And so I just grabbed some clothes like really quick, but that was it.
We got the kids up out of bed and put them in the car, and then we followed the traffic out. When we turned around the corner, we were actually stuck in our neighborhood we like could not move. We were in a traffic jam, and the fire was coming behind us, and there were just like embers of fire coming down, smoke. And so at this point, we had been sitting for about 20 minutes in our neighborhood stuck. And we were like, we're not going to sit here and die. Things were popping. I don't know if you've ever been around a fire. It sounds like somebody's beating steel. My husband just said, I'm going to go get the bicycle. And so he went back to the house. He said when he opened the garage, he could just feel the heat. It just like hit him. And he got the bike. He ran upstairs and to get a sheet to cover the girls. And when he did, he could see the fire behind our house. So he came back down. We left the car. I got on the bike and rode the girls. I was pregnant at this point, 10 months, and he ran beside us.
The streets were kind of dark, but it was really smoky and windy and foggy. And I just remember I went the opposite direction of everyone, and I don't know why, it just happened. Like, it was just really quick. And I actually went towards the fire. So the street, it's called Hopper. Like, it was literally like, that's the street that I went down, and it was like already in flames. So like it was super close to our house at that point. And I started driving down, and then there was just like flames on each side of me, and it was just pitch black, but then there was just like red on the sides. So I was like panicking because I was like, oh my God. And I couldn't see, like it was really, really foggy, and I couldn't see the streets, and there was like a cul-de-sac. And so I was like, I don't want to turn down the wrong street. So I just, I tried to like turn on my high beams and then like turn them off, because I was like, I can't see anything.
The morning that we found out that the house had burned down, I had just cried uncontrollably. I was, of course, like hyperventilating, and my sister-in-law was like, you have to go to the hospital. I hadn't felt the baby. We had driven all night long. So she was like, you have to go to the hospital. So I was like, okay. So we went to the hospital, Kaiser in Santa Clara, and in the emergency room, the intake doctor that took me in was Dr. Stark, and she was unbelievable. For one, when she found out that my house had burned down, I mean, it was so fresh. I had literally found out like 30 minutes earlier. I just didn't stop crying for hours. And she was so amazing. She started crying. And you know, with doctors, you don't always feel that. They don't let themselves get emotional. So she was just crying with me and holding my hand, and she was so wonderful. And I was already nervous because I had to have a C-section. And so before the fire even happened, I was nervous about having the baby, having a C-section. I knew that my doctor was going to do it in Santa Rosa. Now my hospital in Santa Rosa is closed down. I don't know if Dr. Sullivan's even alive. I don't know what's happening. Like, we didn't know anything. We just knew we couldn't have the baby there. And so I was like, my world has turned, like, that just felt very scary for me. And so I was struggling because they weren't going to let me have the baby at Santa Clara. They wanted me to have it at San Jose Hospital, which is a little less as nice as Santa Clara, and it wasn't going to be with this doctor. Well, a friend of ours was serving food at a soup kitchen and told the guy next to her about our story. It's the guy that gave us a free car. And he said, I have an OBGYN that's my next door neighbor. Let me talk to her. And she literally called me, got my information. And the same day that Santa Clara called me and said, you cannot there's no way, we're booked. You cannot have the baby here. We're fully booked at Santa Clara. That same day, after this OBGYN called me, got my information, made one phone call, they called and said, okay, what time do you want to have the baby and when? And said that the schedule was fully open for me. And then they said, we're making a phone call. And they called me back 5 minutes later and said, and Dr. Stark, she's off that day, but she's going to come in for you to deliver your baby. And it was just so amazing, like how God just worked that out for me, even though it was small. But it was just like the comfort of knowing the person that was going to deliver my baby was huge for me at that time.
At the time of the fires, the community was incredible. There was a lot of support and love.
The atmosphere in Sonoma County was incredible. It was like, there was so much love, almost like what you feel at Christmas time, like a special love for everybody and courtesy.
The local church, Promise Center, like everyone was reaching out, making sure that I was okay, you know, trying to feed me food and take care of me. And, you know, we had an amazing warehouse that, you know, they opened up to everyone that lost their homes to, you know, grab like the essential things that you need, like toothpaste and toothbrush and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I know like other churches around the area were all getting together and just like helping everyone out. And it was so amazing to see.
We had lost both cars. So we had a friend who was serving at one of the soup kitchens. We weren't even in town locally because I had had the baby, but she was serving at one of the soup kitchens, and she just was talking to somebody next to her about us, and they said, oh, we have a car we can give them. And they just gave us their car. It was an amazing gift, and it was like just what we needed at the perfect time. I've met people who are angry at the fire department, who are angry at different people, and I can see where things could have been done differently. We weren't notified through text. We weren't notified. There was nothing on TV. We weren't notified through any social media. There was no notifications. I think we're just short-staffed. We were short-staffed for people that could help. You know, it is hard to know that the fire was not even attempted to be put out in our neighborhood because it was so massive. It is hard to know that there was nothing they could do. Could that have been prevented? Man, if it could, like, I hope we're doing everything that we can, where it will never happen again, because we live in an area that a fire could happen.
So the house that I was living in, I was renting a room, and my roommates were the owners of the home. And so insurance-wise, they kind of were nice enough to take care of that part for me, which was really, really nice, because I honestly wouldn't have known how to do that. I don't have personally insurance for the house. I had made a list of everything that I had lost in the fires, and I had just sent that over to my roommates, and they kind of dealt with like the insurance part, which was really nice. And from there, you know, we kind of figured it out.
The insurance companies are a whole nother situation. I know some insurance companies that were incredible, sent checks right out to the people that they served, and they're just full house checks, whatever they had in their dwelling, their bucket B, which we say bucket B, but that's like what it will cost to build your house now in 2018, because your plan doesn't cover water sprinklers, which are now, you know, all these things that have to be done. The agent was amazing. He came out, he assessed our home, he flew out, assessed our home, was wonderful to work with. But as a company, they didn't just say, okay, we're going to trust you and sign off on your money that you should get. We had to jump through hoops. I fought them for weeks to approve us to get the money to rebuild. They did eventually approve what we submitted, but it wasn't the company we wanted. It wasn't for the amount that we had available, which a lot of people that we knew, we had about 18 families in our church that lost their homes, and we've been in contact with all of them, and some of them just got checks for everything, even their contents, and ours is not giving our full contents. And so that's hard. You know, it's a stressful time. There's so much you have to work with just to get back on your feet at all, but then to have to go and write list of every single thing you had in your home and all those different things, plus fighting them for the money. It can be stressful, and it's unfortunate that that's the process that you have to go through during a tragic time like that. We're rebuilding on the same property and lot. It's going to be super strange to go back. Not so much for me, but for my kids. They've been through a lot. They know everything. They talk about it every day, the fire. And my daughter, who's now in kindergarten, has gone through some PTSD at school.
That part, driving through the fire, me coping through that, honestly, like, it was scary at first, and I did cry, just because it was scary, you know, but after that, I wasn't really, like, I didn't have any kind of PTSD from the actual fire flames or, like, seeing it. I feel like what I had to cope with more was, like, losing, like, my mom's belongings, because she had just passed earlier that year, so I had, like, 90% of her stuff, and so that was, like, what was the tragic part of me losing everything that she had. So that took some time, but, like, I mean, you know, you still have memories, so that's nice, but still, like, losing all of her things, that was really, really hard for me.
I lost the most valuable things. I lost my, you know, all of my wedding, things from my wedding, everything that's sentimental, nothing that that was lost that could be replaced is sad for me. It's the things that I can't replace. My daughters were 4 and 3 when the fire happened, so they were very aware, especially because the fear of being in the car, all the embers. My daughters for months really talked about embers, the embers coming down, and my husband put a sheet over them, but they still saw houses burning down. So, you know, it was really traumatic for them. They're big communicators, so they talked about it, which everyone was saying, like, was great for them to talk about it and work through it. But there were moments that were hard when, like, my daughter went to a restaurant with my mom, and there was a pizza stove, and the fire shot up, and she literally started screaming in the middle of this restaurant and got under the table. And now she's in kindergarten, and I didn't know they were having a fire drill, and when they did, she went ballistic. She has been amazing at working through it, but there's things that are triggers for them. So it's getting better. She prays for the fire not to come. They both pray for the fire not to come every night. And we just let them talk about it. They tell their story to people. Just out of the blue, we'll tell people, and I just let them. But, you know, it's just important that they're healthy and that they're working through this. I want this to be something that it doesn't affect them long term. So we're trying to educate ourselves and help them as much as we can.
As far as coping with the fire, I mean, whether you have faith or not, like, God has helped me through all of it. Like, I don't know, like, how I would have survived this if, like, I didn't have God, like, to turn my eyes on him and, like, have faith that, you know, he was going to pull through no matter what.
We just never know when any disaster will happen. When I got our homeowner's insurance, I thought, oh man, an earthquake. That's what was on my mind because I live in California. I had never thought. We are not even in a fire zone in Santa Rosa. We're not even in an area that costs more because of fires, but you just never know what could happen. And so making sure that you're not underinsured, definitely making sure that it's the top dollar for your house. And for renters, here in Sonoma County, we have so many people that have to rent, and a lot of them did not have renter's insurance, and so they got nothing.
I mean, definitely taking on more responsibility and being an adult. I don't know, I just felt really close with the people that I was living with, so I didn't feel like I needed to, you know, like, invest in any kind of insurance or, you know, I just felt like family still. Make sure you're saving. Because at the time I had no savings at all. And luckily, like, people were just so kind and, like, you know, giving me money left and right to help me out, which was extremely, like, it was so helpful because I had nothing. I never thought that I would ever go through a situation like this. Even sometimes still, I'm like, it's so hard to believe.
Just have a plan for your family. We're going to talk to our girls about even just a plan for if there was a fire in our home. And if there was somebody that came into our home, you know, those are just things you don't think about. So making sure you communicate with your family about it.